Hey y'all, Jordan and Riley here from Carolina Sew and Vac, and today we're going to be making her a new applique onesie, so we're going to bring y'all along and teach you how to do it. First step is going to be to prep our onesie. So we want to go ahead and press this beforehand so you don't get any ripples. Stabilizer we're going to be using is 2 layers of fusible no-show mesh. We're also going to have a peel and stick because we're going to be using fast frames. But you want to take just 1 layer of it. Probably hear Riley in the background here. And you want to press it down here and just let it sit there for a minute so the fibers can go ahead and start to fuse. It is slow, so you got to be a little more patient with it. Once you've got that, you can go ahead and press your fabrics you're going to be using for your applique. I don't use a stiffener like a heat and bond or anything like that usually. I won't be doing that with this. Just going to make sure they're pressed really good. And then I'm going to bring all this over to the table and show you how to mark it up. Now that you got everything fused up and you're ready to hoop and mark here, for the marking, this is a 0 to 3 onesie, and this is going to work for designs that are 4x4, 5x5. As your shirts get larger, your designs are different sizes, you may have to make this, different, but it should be small adjustments. From the bottom of your neckline to the center of where you want your design to be is about 3 inches. Once you go on your machine and you look at everything, you may have to make some minor adjustments, but this should be perfect for when you're actually hooping it. And for the hooping, you can use your regular frames that come with it, or you can use fast frames. This is such a small onesie that I'm going to be using the 5x5 fast frame just because I'm able to do a larger design. I would only be able to use 4x4 hoops, which means I'd only be able to do a very small 4x4 design on this, which would be less impressive, but this one I can do a lot larger. So you got this hooped up with your peel and stick. The hooping process is really similar whether you're using your regular frames or fast frames, so you can still follow along with this. But get it on the inside of the onesie here. And your fast frames have little indentions that all line up to make your center point, and your hoops that come with your machine have tick marks that do the same thing. So once you've got your center, I like to draw crosshairs right here for this reason. I can lay it out and I can lay my finger on that line and find that indention. I like to hold it there, pull everything tight. This part can be a little tedious if you're a perfectionist. And then to test everything, you put your finger on the line and kind of run it down here, and with your nail you want to make sure it lines up with the indention or the tick mark. And in my case it does, so we're good to go to the machine. Now that we have gotten on the machine here, we're ready to line everything up and get it ready to go. So however you center up your design, if you got an array, you have a cool crosshair laser. If you have some other machines, you may have a red dot, you may have nothing. However you line stuff up, line it up to the mark you made earlier. And once you've gotten that good, we're going to check our area. So since we're using fast frames, I like to check it about 50,000 times so I don't hit anything. To do that, you're going to hit your button that looks like 2 needles. And top, bottom, doesn't really matter which one you check first, but you want to hit your top button. And wherever your center is saying it is, whether you're using a laser or just eyeballing it, I like to put my finger in there and make sure that it's clearing this metal frame really good. And in this case, it does need to come down a little bit. And now I want to check the bottom, so we do the same thing, but we go to the bottom. I can feel that there, and that's clearing just barely. One cool feature I really like about the array and the current model, Baby Lock and Brother 6 needles, this right here, it's 2 threads and a piece of paper. It lists out all your colors here. And one thing you can do, since we're doing applique, you have to set your stops, because this machine is 6 needle. It wants to just go whatever you load on there, but we want it to stop after every single one so we can put in our fabric and cut it and all that good stuff. You can actually go through here to each thread and set your reserve stops. so that way it doesn't get ahead of you. And you don't have to keep hitting it after every single one. If you get busy, kids start screaming, you gotta go take care of them, but you left your machine running, whatever your case may be, you can go ahead and set these in there so that when you load up your machine, it's set to stop after every single one as if you were using a single needle machine. Alright, now that you have set everything up here, you're in your embroidery stage, you're ready to roll. In my particular design, it's trying to tell me I have 12 different changes. That's not the case because I'm doing a 2-color design. So one thing I like to do with appliques is I like to go ahead and manage my colors with the magic wand right here. So you have that, and I'm going to go through these and change them to the colors that they're supposed to be, because it's wanting to use 1s and 4s and 2s, and I only got a 1 and a 2. So basically the way my design is going to be is each letter is going to be my yellow fabric, and the top of this is supposed to look like a pineapple, so that's going to be green. So pretty much all of the letters, whether it's a placement stitch, a tack down stitch, or a satin stitch, it's going to be number 1, because that's my yellow. So I'm going to go through here and just change. You see that's my stem there, so that's going to be number 2. That's the tack down for the stem, so number 2. That's the satin stitch, that's number 2. That's a letter, letters, that's the last one. So now when I come here, it's a lot simpler. It's not going to be running around my thread stand like I got a whole bunch of color changes on here. Now we're ready to start embroidering here. On these 2 needles right here is the only 2 we're going to be using on my case. I got these with 80-12 ball points. That usually gives me the best stitch quality when I'm using like knits like this right here. Got my pre-cut applique fabrics. Make sure that if you do not have a machine that you're able to preset your stops in, that you're hitting that button. Otherwise it's going to get ahead of you. It's not going to be a good time. So we're going to go ahead and unlock it and hit go for that first placement stitch. Alright, so you should be able to see where your placement is. You can take your fabric and make sure you got some good coverage on it, and go ahead and unlock. Make sure you reserve stop and let it go. Now we're tacked down, so it's time to do probably the most annoying part of doing applique on a multi-needle. Got to take this hoop out because you need a flat surface, that way you don't mess anything up. So get you some good applique scissors. If you don't have a good pair, come see me. Now that you got that all cut out, depending on what kind of design you have, the next step is either going to be the satin stitch for this, or it might go on to the next step. For my design, it's the satin stitch. So you can go ahead and unlock and hit go, and again make sure you got your reserve stop going here. So now we got that satin stitch done. Applique does tend to get a little redundant, so I'm going to show you one more time and then I'll show you the finished product. So the next is going to be the little topper for the pineapple. So lock and go. Alright, so got my green fabric here. Lay that on and lock and go. So now cut around all this and run that satin stitch. Perfect. Now to get this out, you can just take it out of the frame and give it a nice gentle pull. to get it away from that peeling stick. Then you can go clean all this up and remove any excess no-show mesh. And I'm going to cut a piece of Fuso Soft to go over this just as an extra precaution. Alright, now that you got your pre-cut piece of no-show mesh, this is just an extra precaution so that the thread and stabilizer is not directly against the baby skin. You just need to cut this big enough to cover up everything. So usually I just have a bunch of scraps laying around with mine. So lay it where it's flat, there's no wrinkles because it is going to fuse. And then just again slowly let it adhere. Now we got Riley in her new shirt. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank y'all for watching. We'll see you on the next one.